Hi guys, TSB back at it again. Welcome to the review of Hearts Medicine Time to Heal. This is not the type of game I usually pick up, but I was feeling a bit of casually while looking at Steam's store page at one day, and I decided that hey, I'm going to pick this up. Full disclosure, this is not paid. I have not received a code. I have bought this game from my own money while it was on sale, so actually I think it was 50% off at the time. And I was in the mood to play some casual simulation, and I play these types of games on and off. I think I might have actually played a game from this studio, which is the developer is called Blue Giraffe, and it's actually a company based in the Netherlands. They have another series called Delicious, which has more than 10 games in it, and one of the guest stars in this game is actually the main protagonist of the Delicious series. This is an entirely new series as far as I can tell. I must say that I have not noticed this game when it released, and it released in 2016. I picked this game up on Steam, and it was on sale because the sequel had actually just come out. I'm filming this in May 2017, and I'm definitely going to take a look at the sequel. The game was surprisingly rich on the story side of things. I have expected a lesser story, just kinda loosely tagging on more of a Mortal Kombat style story, where it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things what is happening in the overworld. It just creates point of interest between the different missions or fights in the Mortal Kombat universe. I was expecting something along those lines. I was quite surprised, and honestly pleasantly surprised. The whole game consists of 60 missions. The main protagonist is called Allison, and she is she's starting as an intern in a hospital. You will gradually guide her throughout the wings of the hospital, or the departments of the hospital. Each department holds 10 main story missions with a few challenge missions on the side, and for each department, so for each 10 missions, you have one of these guest missions with the main character of the Delicious series, where you actually help her in the canteen. The game itself is, as I noted it down, is a casual station and resource allocation real-time simulation. What I mean by that is each department has its own stations that are themed based on the department. So for example, in the radiology department, you will have CT, you will have an kind of X-ray machine. Within a mission, you have a prescribed amount of patients that come in to the given department, and each of them have a given set of stations they must visit and the resources they need to get. So for example, you might have a patient that comes in and requests a certain color of contrast dye. You hook him up with that color of contrast dye. He wouldn't take any other color of contrast dye. And for example, you would move him to take a CT scan, and that might be it. The success rate of the player is represented by little heart icons above the patients. You can estimate the amount of actions you need to take with each patient by the number of hearts that he's missing when he comes in. Upon a successful treatment, a patient will leave with 10 hearts. Now each scenario will have a different challenge. So for example, in a certain scenario, you will have patients coming in 3 at a time. So you will have a kind of a panic, and you will have to quickly assign them. You are controlling mostly just Allison, sometimes other characters, but mostly just Allison, and she actually needs to move from station to station on foot. So it takes a little bit of time, and hooking up certain resources to the patients or giving certain resources to the patients takes some amount of time as well. Each department has a set of 3 minigames that are thematically selected to the given department. So for example, coming back to my favorite department, radiology, you have a CT scan where actually you will see 2 scans of brain next to each other, and you have some discoloring on one of the pictures, and you have to manually select it while there is a timer running on top of the screen, and at a certain point you will start to lose hearts for the given treatment. These minigames are mostly well adjusted to the control of the mouse. However, I found that several minigames were very infuriating. The X-ray minigame with the radiology department is very infuriating because you have sometimes the picture locks up. I'm probably showing this in the background. The picture locks up and it shows that, hey, you actually correctly placed the piece there, but in reality you have to make just the tiniest little movement to lock the piece in, and you are losing valuable time. And particularly in that minigame, the timer is very aggressive, so you need to learn it, especially on the hand. There are several scenarios for the minigame. Sometimes you're doing a full body X-ray, sometimes you're doing the X-ray of the hand. It's really just about teaching your memory, because sometimes the pictures are rotated as well. So yeah, most of the minigames, you have a total of 18 minigames and throughout the game. Most of them I had quite a lot of fun with. As you can probably notice from the pictures in the background, the whole style of representation is a 2D plane, where you have a kind of like a painted background with the foreground characters that are sparsely animated but appropriately chosen to the style of the game. Now, there is no voiceover for the game, and this is mostly fine. Sometimes it would have been nice to actually hear the actors voiced. However, this is just a minor tidbit and it really is not detracting from the whole experience that much. I'm more critical of the background music that's selected here. The overall game length is around 10 hours, and most of the time the player spends this within the missions themselves. Now, if you're trying, I tried to 100% the game, and again, I bought this game on Steam, so it actually has achievements. I would say that these achievements are reasonably selected, and for the majority of these 10 hours, you have a background loop of essentially elevator music, and when you get the OST of the game, you can clearly see that these sound files are not that long, so you are looking at the loops of 1 to 2 minutes. It's just the pieces are just right so that it doesn't drive you mad at the end of the game. So I didn't actually mute the game or anything, and I was listening for the most of the game. And I had to, because one thing that is very well done in the game are actual audio cues. One of the side activities you do in each mission is there is this little hamster guy, Oliver, I think. This little hamster guy, which you try to spot, and he gives a distinctive audio cue. And actually most of the station completions also give an audio cue to indicate that, okay, the treatment is done. These audio cues make the player's life a little bit easier, and definitely the orientation is improved. And definitely in some cases where you have a difficult challenge, you will thank the developers for including the audio cues, because it will make a situation much easier to analyze, and you might decode the whole complexity and the proper resource allocation sooner than without these audio cues in place. Positioning of the stations within the levels is logically well laid out. However, sometimes you will run into problems where different pieces of the stations overlap each other, so you might misclick and select the wrong station. But again, like, the audio cues help with these, and when actually you select an actor or a patient within a given scene, it not only gives you an audio cue, but the patient actually raises his hand or something to indicate that he's selected. Overall, coming back to the audio side of things, there are 3 full-length, what I would consider full-length songs, full-length arrangements that are on the OST. They're also included within the game as you play for certain story situations. And if nothing else, I would like you to take a listen to Goodbye, I'll Miss You. by Jake Berry, Miranda Kalasian, and Adam Gubman. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. This is definitely that one song you should take away from the OST. And I was reminded by the situation with Bastion, where there were two specific songs that you immediately picked out of the OST, and that were the representative songs of the OST that you should take away. The rest was kind of like, I don't specifically remember any other song from Bastion, but I have the two, and you would know which one those are if you listen to the Bastion OST. Overall, for the audio, it could have been better, but it's perfectly serviceable for the type of the game that Heart's Medicine Time to Heal is. Going to the story, I won't spoil anything. The whole game starts with a flashback, and essentially this is the story about maturing as a person, trying to survive tough situations in life, and showing that not always the way that you would think might work will actually work for you. I was quite surprised about how heavy the story went, especially considering that this is a casual simulation title. I ran the similar situation with the different game Space Plan, where I didn't anticipate that this will be something that will hold me narratively as much as it did. The story is definitely the stronger part of the game, and I'm sure you will have your favorites, and you'll definitely have the guys who you'll hate and who you'll be fond of, and you will recall certain situations from the game. And it's really rare, actually, that the story is crafted so organically that it's not something you... I mean, I don't want to go into too much superlatives here, because there are some cliches in the writing. Certainly some situations have the consequences you would think they'll have, but mostly I would say that this is what life gives you, and the writing is very honest, in my opinion. I definitely give the writers kudos where kudos is due. They did a really good job. To sum the whole thing up, if you're a fan of casual simulation games, you probably already played this title. If you're not, this is worth on the story alone and on the one song that you'll get from it. On the other side, if you're infuriated by resource management, by thinking on your feet, and if real-time simulations and real-time stressful situations are not your thing, then this is not the game for you. They don't hide the fact that this will have further games in the series, and based on the sole fact that their other series has like 12 installments already, points to the longevity that they are capable of as a developer house with their franchise. And this is not a huge appetite franchise, so I don't think that you will need like huge amount of sales to keep them afloat. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Heart's Medicine Time to Heal, and I would like to thank the developers for the awesome story they put together. This is TSB signing out. Bye.